Okay, so review time for chapter 1. Maddie had a question. How do you ping something indefinitely? Is you type in ping, whatever you want to see if you have a connection with. Nikki, Paul, what are you guys doing?
We're doing a quiz online.
You're doing a quiz on networking?
Yeah.
Oh. So do you have questions on the review?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just pay attention.
Yeah. Do Quizlet on your own time. Also, although that's probably a good idea. Probably should have some Kahoots. I'm sure there's a Kahoot we could find real quick.
Oh, Quizlet Live. That's pretty good.
Quizlet Live? All right, maybe we'll do that for a review. But I want to specifically get the questions you guys have first. So ping, let's say I want to ping youtube.com. What it's going to do is it's going to ping it 4 times with a default of 32 bytes. This TTL, we'll get to that. I'm not sure if we covered it, but it's basically time to live, and that's how many routers will it go to until it gets deleted. So to prevent something from going around the internet for all of time, they have this thing called time to live, and once the time to live, you go over that information is deleted. So you have 53 routers basically to get to for this ping, to get to YouTube before it gets deleted. There's not 53 routers you have to get to or default gateways to get to in order to get to YouTube, but that's what time TTL is. So, and this is apparently the IP address of YouTube. So if I want to do this indefinitely, I do a space and then -T, and what it will do is it will just do this. Now this is really good because if I'm trying to see if I have connection to something, or I do this and then I want to make sure that I maintain connection. If I were to, this is going to be a great video. Okay, general failure. Now I've jumped over to my Wi-Fi. So let me turn Wi-Fi off, and as soon as I turn Wi-Fi off, now that is my computer's IP address saying, listen, we're trying to get to this thing and we can't. It's not reachable. And then it's like, oh, well, I broke something. I need to make sure. And then you plug it in and you're like, all right, well, maybe that fixed it. Let me see. You keep watching this. Okay, good. That restored my connection. So as opposed to having to run ping this every single time, you can just do a -T, which is probably the most useful of the ping commands that I've used. You can also set it to send a certain number or a certain size, but you don't really need to ever have to do that. At least not really. Whatever. Questions? Did everyone understand that? Any questions on that? All right, so we'll start back room and work our way forward. Perry.
Well, that one on the review, there was a ping-n. You know that.
Ping-n, that's the size. Oh no, that's the number. On the networking certification exam, I don't remember, but what you would want to know in general, the parameters. So like probably the size of them. So I think that's L for length, and then you have N for number and T for time. Is probably how I remember it. So if you have something -N, they may put something, and I don't know, disclaimer, I don't know, I don't remember exact things, I just remember generalities, but they may have something like ping youtube.com/n1000, and then they go, what does this mean? This is 1,000 bytes ping. You're gonna ping it 1,000 times. The length you're gonna wait 1,000 seconds or whatever. So you'll need to know that N stands for number, and you'll ping it 1,000 times. Or it might be something. One of the options may be something like this for your answer, and you can know this isn't true because if you have -T, you don't have anything after it. So they may put which of the following ping commands is true or which of them is false. Might be something like that. Again, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm just going off of things. I don't remember any specific questions or anything like that. I'm just going off of general. I've taken a lot of these tests and I kind of know, and I've taken a lot of the practice tests, and a lot of the practice tests and things like that have answers like which of the following are true, which of the following aren't. So kind of a disclaimer there. So was that it?
What does network address translation do?
NAT. So NAT basically what it does is it hides your private IP address from the internet. So in your home, if you guys go home and depending on how good of a router you have, typically you can see connected devices and you can see this one has this IP address, this one has that IP address. That's internal, and unless you're connected to the network, you can't see those addresses. Obviously, the internet is not connected to your Wi-Fi. Well, it is and it's not. Every computer on the internet isn't connected to your Wi-Fi, right? It all comes through your modem, and on your modem, you have something called network address translation, which translates the network address. Hence the name. IT people are very not creative when it comes to names. Like if you know what the name is, you kind of pretty much know what it does. Like NTP is a network time protocol. What do you think that does? It's a protocol for time on a network time protocol. So that's a big help on these exams. If you know if you just know what the letters stand for, most of the time you don't even know what they do. Like RSA is a type of encryption, but if you just know, that's a bad example because I don't know what it is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If you just know what it stands for, you can kind of get an idea of what it is, and if you have an idea what it is, you can deduction, cross off answers, and it's like, well, it's a 50-50 shot between these two. This one I think has something to do with encryption. This one has something to do with network protocols. This question's asking about security, so I'll go with the one that I think has to do with encryption, not the one that has to do with wireless standards or whatever. So network address translation. It takes your IP address and all the packets associated with it. When it goes through the modem, it then hides that information, puts the modem's IP address on it, or converts it, and then sends it off. So that in the internet, all the internet knows is that it's going to 1.2.3.4, not your computer, which is 10.0.0.11. So it just comes to the modem, and then the modem goes, okay, I have information that is coming to me, and I've encrypted it. I can't remember exactly how it works. If it encrypts it, or if it just deletes it and then waits for, puts a header on it and says, okay, this packet 1001 is going to come back. I know 1001 goes to your computer. I don't know exactly how that works, but it comes in. The modem goes, okay, this packet was destined for 10.0.0.10. I'm going to send it to it. Make sense? Okay. If not, please tell me, and I'll either draw it or grab a video or something like that. So, you good? Yeah. Okay. Nikki.
You answered it, right?
Paul.
Can we just go over the different types of topology?
Yeah, so that's easy to draw. So, I will draw one, and you guys will guess at the name. Okay, so what is that? Star. I do not like that color. Or ring. It's a ring topology, and then they pass around the token ring. Bus. Is this used often?
No.
But is it?
Yeah.
Oh. So why is it not used often? Anyone remember?
Because in like small areas, the star is better.
Cause you have one pipe, only one pipe to
person
share all the
calculate the
information.
time. Like only one.
Kind of a little. You guys kind of all. Yes, a star is better. Yes, if it's easy to go down, and yes, only one person can talk. This still has to use a form of token, so they have like a logical way of. So this one, it can actually physically go around in a circle. This one, it has to logically. So logically and physical. Logic. So physical is like this is a. Oh, you guys can't even. Those of you on TV or on YouTube can't even see. This is a physical pen, right? Physical connection, physical network. A logical network is one that's only in the computer. So this one logically has to figure out the order as opposed to, oh, it can physically go in a ring. So you guys are correct in why it's not used that often. There's also, you have to have these T connectors, which aren't really used anymore in order to connect the computer to the network. Hence the T. Why did I say this is used often? Because the internet. Yeah. So you could think of this. This is YouTube. This is Facebook. This is Twitter. This is your computer. And this is Google. So they all connect, and they're connected by the internet. No, so you can kind of think of the internet that way. And then last one. Mesh, yes. Is this one used a lot?
No.
Yeah. So you'll hear mesh network versus a mesh topology. So a mesh topology is a physical thing where all of the things on the network, all the nodes, all the devices, they're all connected to each other. Which reliability between devices is really, really good, and I know almost exactly which cable is the fault because computer A can't talk. If these two computers, if A and C can't talk to each other, I know it's this cable. Now it may be a pain to rewire that, but at least you know it's that cable. You'll also hear of a mesh network. Now again, these are two totally different things. A mesh network is one network made of many access points. So at home, what we did here, we had one network per router, right? Here at school, we have one network with like 64 routers, 64 access points. They're all producing their own wireless signal, but they're all connected to the same network. So when I go from this room to Miss Engelbrettson's room, I walk out of this room and I'm still talking to the AP in here. As I get into her room, this AP essentially hands off my device to Miss Engelbrettson's AP. And that's a mesh network. That's what I have in my house, and that's what we did. You guys remember the drawing I did like this? And I had a router here, and on the second floor I had a router here, vaguely. So this one, if you don't have a mesh network, you're gonna have two individual networks, and so you'll have to join this one, or if you get too far away, you'll have to disconnect from this one and then join this one. Whereas if you have a mesh network, they talk to each other and they figure that out and they do it automatically. So mesh network is a little bit more expensive, but it's super convenient. I love it. Whose question was that? Was that yours, Paul?
Yeah.
Did I answer it?
Yeah, but like, I'm still kind of like not understanding like what the topology like applies to. Is it just like how networks are set up in like a home, or?
It's how computers are connected. It's the physical layout of computers and cables. So, for example, these computers, we'll say are all connected on a bus network. It's a bus topology. That means they're laid out like this, right? Each computer talks to one cable. That's not how it is, but that's what we're gonna say it is. And then your devices, so your Surface and your phone are in a star topology. because this is the AP, and your phone is connected directly to the AP. Your Surface is connected to the AP. My phone is connected to the AP. We're all directly connected to the AP, and then from here, this goes to the internet. Make sense?
So can you have multiple topologies at once?
Yeah, you could have something that's like, that's actually what a tree topology is. And a tree topology is, so you have a star, boom, 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 and then this one is connected to, well, you know, a bus, and then that one, you could do that. Actually, I don't know what I'm drawing at this point, but yes, you can. You can mix them together and have different topologies. This one is by far the most common. It's what our wireless network is here. It's what yours is at home. This is a little old school. This is a little old school, and then this one is a lot. This one's really expensive to implement because you have cables to everything. So, okay, Colton.
What are the different types of access points?
I don't know. An access point is just something to connect to a network, and so you have a physical access point or a wireless access point. Everything in the ceiling that we have is a wireless access point because you wirelessly connect to it, but you can also have an access point where you plug in. So you could, like, our access points or our routers also were access points, but they had a wireless asset. They were also wireless. So we could have physically plugged in our Surface, which is what a bunch of you guys did to configure it. That was an access point. Or wirelessly, which is how you checked it. But an access point is a point at which you access a network. Yeah. Again, IT guys are pretty not creative when it comes to naming things.
What's the intranet?
The intranet is just an internal network. So it's like a if we didn't have connectivity to the internet, so if we just like cut our cable, we would still have an intranet of internal stuff. Internet, intranet. Intranet is an internal network that isn't connected to the internet, or it can be, but you have to be very specific to get into it. Yes.
IP, the 10 dot, etc. IP addresses aren't routable over the internet, right?
I mean, that's what the book says. I didn't necessarily think of it, but typically if you have, this is going to be important. You're definitely going to want to take notes on this next little part coming up. Hope you guys are getting your notes ready.
Oh, yeah.
So these three internet addresses are the beginnings of private IP addresses. These three, and this goes to, I think it's 255. This one 172.31.255.255, and then this one goes to 192.168.255.255. So these three ranges are what your home networks are, almost exclusively. I know this is Xfinity. Xfinity uses the 10.0. So if any of you guys have Xfinity, your router is I would bet money, unless someone's changed it, 10.0.0.1. So what these mean, so especially you guys will need, there's no particular reason why I'm highlighting those particular two octets, just letting you guys know, just I felt like it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But these are actually super, super important. Any private network you go to, Starbucks, your home, Panera, this school, your IP address when you go there will have a 10.0 dot something, 172.16, all the way up to 172.31 or 192.168. almost anywhere you go, because what they've decided is that these 3 ranges are for they're private IP addresses. That means they're not directly connectable to the intranet, which is good because this is what your home is. So if you had an IP address that was directly connected to the internet, people could hack you pretty easily, right? You would then have to set up a firewall for every IP address and all this stuff. It also allows these to be reusable. That's why the reason why every time you go to Starbucks or Panera or your home or your buddy's house, you have one of these 3 IP addresses is to free up the IP addresses outside of this range for everything else, for every website, for like we have our own IP address. So when we bought our ISP and our internet, we have to justify every IP address that we want that is directly to the internet. So for example, let's say our school internet is hosted at 99.99.99.99, okay? And we're like, hey, we need 10 more IP addresses for our stuff. Our ISP, who owns a huge chunk of them, is like, why do you need them? Well, we want .100 for our sports website. Our .101 for remote in for people who are working remotely and they have to connect. And we have to we have to physically send a document in like this that says this is what we're going to use these IP addresses for, because there's only a limited amount, and our ISP, or internet service provider, owns a huge block of them and they kind of rent them out. So these aren't connectable to the internet because they're private, and the only way these connect is through network address translation to the internet. So your modem has its own, at least it should, has its own public IP address. Perry?
What's the class A address, class B address?
Oh, you don't need to know that for the quiz, so I won't go over it. I'll answer it tomorrow though.
Okay.
They did that before anyway, yeah.
And then, you know that, our first homework assignment, online multiple choice questions?
Yeah?
Are we gonna need to know, all the SSH and all the acronyms?
Not for the quiz.
So
Eventually, yeah, we're gonna build on this, but for the quiz, you don't need to know I don't think you need to know a single acronym. You do need to know wireless standards, at least, you don't have to memorize everything about them, just be able to give me something. And then just basic, wireless versus wired networking, that sort of stuff.
Like pros and cons?
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, let me know, message me.
So
The quiz will be first thing tomorrow, and then we'll get started on chapter 2.